Okay, so you're here because you want the lowdown on important stuff, but without spending hours reading, right? That's what we do.
Get straight to the point.
Exactly. And today we're focusing on something pretty specific in crypto, something that can actually be, well, quite risky for sellers.
We're talking about first-time buyers on peer-to-peer platforms, places like Binance P2P.
Right. And the potential dangers there. We're drawing on some really interesting points from an article by Dr. Puyan Gamari. He's a Swiss economist.
Yeah, the title's pretty blunt. Why you should never trust a first-time buyer on P2P.
It is strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it definitely flags some real concerns we need to unpack.
It really does. Because P2P trading itself, it has benefits, but that direct interaction, it changes the game a bit, requires more awareness.
Definitely. So just quickly, for anyone maybe less familiar, P2P crypto trading is basically you're buying or selling directly with another person,
Yeah, cutting out the main exchange interface for the trade itself.
which often means like lower fees,
Right.
right, and more payment options.
That's the draw for many, yeah. Lower fees, tons of payment methods, often using local currencies too, which is super convenient for people.
Makes total sense. But the flip side is because you're dealing one-on-one and crypto's decentralized.
The usual safety nets might feel a bit different or less obvious.
So trust and security become absolutely massive, which brings us right to the core question based on Dr. Gamari's article. Why are first-time buyers potentially such a risk on these platforms?
What is it about them? Are they bringing the vulnerability or are they maybe accidentally causing problems?
Yeah, what's the deal?
Well, the article lays out several key reasons why sellers really need to be, let's say, extra careful with someone new to the P2P scene.
Okay, let's dive into the first big one then. It seems obvious, but maybe it's not. Just their lack of experience. How does that actually cause problems?
Well, it plays out in some very practical ways. For instance, Dr. Gamari points out that someone new might not really know how to check if a seller is legit.
Ah, okay, so they don't look at the reviews or the transaction history properly.
Exactly. Experienced folks know you check the feedback, the number of trades. You know, it's like checking Amazon reviews.
Right. But a newbie might just see a good price, and that's it.
They might overlook that verification step entirely. Just focus on the deal. It's like, yeah, trusting a brand new website with no track record. Bit of a leap.
So sellers almost have to compensate for that, maybe. Be more proactive.
That's a good way to think about it. And this lack of platform know-how, it can also cause just simple payment mistakes.
Like what? Releasing funds wrong or something?
Yeah, maybe confirming payment incorrectly or messing up the fund release steps. Just simple errors that can lead to delays, confusion.
Or the seller just not getting paid. Yikes.
Right. And then there's the whole escrow thing. That's meant to protect everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the platform holding the crypto until the payment's confirmed, basically.
Precisely. It's like a safety deposit box the platform manages. Seller's crypto goes in, gets locked.
And only released when the seller says, yep, got the cash.
Exactly. It's that neutral third party. But someone brand new might not fully get why it's there or how crucial it is.
So they might try and, bypass it somehow? Or just mess up the confirmation steps within escrow?
Could be either. They might not understand the sequence or think sending money directly is the process, missing that whole escrow protection layer. Again, seller releases crypto, payment doesn't actually finalize, problem.
Okay, got it. That makes the lack of experience very tangible. Now, another big risk the article mentions is fraudulent chargebacks. That sounds actively malicious.
Oh, it absolutely can be. This is where sellers can get hit hard financially.
How does that scam work in P2P crypto?
So the buyer pays using a method that allows reversals. Think like PayPal sometimes or certain credit card payments.
Okay, methods where you can call up and say, hey, that wasn't me, or I didn't get the goods.
Exactly, though. So they send the payment, the seller confirms, releases the crypto.
And bid.
Then the buyer goes to their payment provider, the bank, PayPal, whoever, and disputes the charge. Claims it was unauthorized, maybe?
Oh, wow. So the payment provider reverses the charge, takes the money back from the seller.
But the crypto is already gone, sent to the buyer. Sellers out the crypto and the payment.
Ouch. That's rough. And the article suggests first-timers might be more likely to pull this. Why?
Well, Dr. Gamari suggests it could be a mix of things. Maybe a genuine misunderstanding of how crypto works, thinking transactions can be reversed like a bank transfer.
Which they generally can't, right, once it's on the blockchain.
It's pretty much final.
Yeah.
So initiating a chargeback on the payment side creates this total imbalance. Buyer gets their fiat money back and keeps the crypto.
So either they don't get that finality or They do get it and are exploiting it.
Sadly, yeah, scammers definitely exploit this. They might specifically target newer users because they know they might use these reversible payment methods.
And maybe don't understand the full implications or the security side.
Precisely. It's exploiting that knowledge gap.
Man. Okay, this connects to the next point then. This idea that newcomers have an inability to assess risk properly.
Yeah, it's like seasoned traders develop a kind of radar, for sketchy deals.
They've seen it before. They check the feedback obsessively, always use escrow, get a gut feeling if something's off.
Exactly. They have that baseline of what's normal and safe. They can spot those red flags.
Whereas a first-time buyer
Mm-hmm.
maybe sees a price that's way below market.
And just thinks, wow, bargain. Not, why is this so cheap?
Yeah, their eagerness kind of overrides the caution maybe.
That's what the article implies. They get lured in by deals that seem too good to be true because they haven't learned why they might be too good to be true yet.
And sellers who then trust these buyers without doing their own extra checks.
They're putting their assets on the line. It opens the door to disputes, scams, potential losses, big time.
And it's not just about losing the money or crypto in that one transaction, is it? The article also talks about reputational damage for the seller.
Which is huge on these platforms. Your rating, your reviews, your completed trade history, that is your currency in a way.
That's how other people decide whether to trade with you.
Absolutely. So imagine a messy transaction with a first-timer. Even if it wasn't really the seller's fault, maybe just confusion.
They could still get hit with a negative review.
Yep. Someone new might get frustrated, not understand the process, and just leave bad feedback. Or worse, make false claims.
Like lodge a dispute that isn't really warranted.
Exactly. And the seller then has to spend time dealing with it, defending themselves.
And even if they win the dispute, that negative mark or the hassle might still linger or affect how others see them.
Right. It can definitely impact their future trading prospects. So even a well-intentioned but confused newbie can inadvertently cause reputational harm.
That's a really subtle but important risk.
Yeah.
Okay, linked to this confusion is another point. Lack of understanding of platform rules and dispute resolution.
Yeah, these platforms, they have processes, right, for when things go wrong. But you need to know how to use them.
Like filling out the right forms, providing the right evidence.
Exactly. And a first-time buyer facing an issue might just flounder. They might not know how to start a dispute correctly or what proof they need.
Which means the whole thing gets dragged out.
Yeah, prolonged, messy, maybe never even properly resolved because the newbie can't navigate the system.
And the seller, who probably does know the rules,
Ends up carrying the weight, trying to sort it out, dealing with the platform support. It's a time sink and a headache.
plus the article mentions they might even break the rules without meaning to.
Yeah, ignorance isn't really an excuse on these platforms. They might do something against the terms of service, maybe related to payment methods or communication outside the platform.
That seems harmless to them, but it's actually a violation.
Right, and if the seller's transaction is linked to that violation, they could face consequences, account warnings, maybe even suspension in serious cases.
Wow, okay. So the risks are pretty multi-layered. Now, the article flips the perspective a bit too, which is interesting. It talks about why first-time buyers are prime targets for scams themselves.
Yeah, this is important for understanding the whole ecosystem. Scammers look for easy marks, right?
And newbies, with all their excitement and maybe lack of skepticism.
They fit the bill perfectly, unfortunately. They're often just so keen to get started they might not question things enough.
Like that too good to be true offer we mentioned earlier.
Exactly, they might just take it at face value. Dr. Gamari also suggests they might put too much trust in the platform itself, like assuming everyone on Binance P2P is automatically safe.
Instead of vetting the individual user they're dealing with.
Right, which makes them vulnerable to things like phishing scams or people trying to lure them off the platform's secure escrow system.
Hey, let's do this faster. Just send payment directly to my account. That kind of thing.
Precisely that kind of thing, bypassing the safety nets.
And it comes back to those payment methods too, doesn't it? Newbies using things like PayPal or Venmo.
Yeah, we talked about the chargeback risk for sellers, but those methods can also be exploited in scams targeting the buyers too. Or just the fact they're using less secure methods makes them generally more attractive to scammers.
So their inexperience makes them vulnerable from pretty much all angles.
That seems to be the core message, yes.
Okay, so let's try and crystallize the main takeaway here from Dr. Gamari's perspective. It really sounds like if you're a seller on a P2P platform,
You need to be significantly more cautious with first-time buyers, maybe have stricter requirements, or just be more vigilant.
because their lack of experience isn't just about simple mistakes. It affects their risk assessment, their understanding of the rules, how they handle payments.
And it makes them susceptible to being scammed, which can indirectly cause problems, and potentially more likely to engage in risky behavior themselves, even if unintentionally sometimes, or intentionally in the case of chargeback fraud.
It's a complex web of vulnerabilities, really.
It definitely is. The inexperience creates ripples.
This has been really illuminating. It definitely shines a light on the dynamics of these P2P environments. It shows that, well, yeah, direct trading is great in many ways.
It requires a different level of personal responsibility and vigilance. You can't just rely on the platform entirely. Education is key.
For both buyers and sellers, but especially those just starting out.
Absolutely. And it does make you think, doesn't it, about the bigger picture. As these platforms grow,
Right. What comes next? We've talked about the risks, especially around newcomers. So thinking ahead, what more could be done?
yeah, are there better mechanisms needed? Ways to protect people better in these decentralized setups?
Is it all on the user to be careful? Or do the platforms maybe need to step up more, find better ways to, I don't know, onboard people safely or manage disputes when there's this clear experience gap?
How do you balance that freedom and decentralization with the need for safety, especially for the most vulnerable users?
That's definitely something to chew on. How do these marketplaces evolve to build trust without becoming overly centralized?
A really key question for the future of P2P, I think.